Our most focused and resilient effort will be to close any tax leakages. And this will be through the fight of corruption. I'm sure most of you could have seen today's headline in the New Vision, which was talking about the staff that have lost their jobs as a result of corruption. And indeed, as difficult as it is to let go of staff, some of whom are actually knowledgeable, is because we have agreed that there will be zero tolerance for corruption. Thank you. So we have started a fight against corruption. Unfortunately, corruption does not happen by ourselves only. Most of the forms of corruption that we are dealing with take more than 2 parties to agree. We are currently dealing with the fraud of where taxpayers have been trusting some scrupulous agents to go and pay their taxes in the bank, and these taxes are not paid. Instead, there is a network of the corrupt inside here to somehow release their goods without payment. That loophole we discovered and we closed it, but we are now going back to see who did this while it happened. Because there is an audit trail for technology, you cannot rub that away. But we still have other forms of misdeclaration and underdeclaration that happen on an everyday basis, many times facilitated by our staff and our agents, tax agents, those who advise on domestic taxes, and clearing agents. And please don't get me wrong by referring to some of these associations, because at first I acknowledge them as our partners, and indeed a number of them are good. But just like we have the majority of our staff good and a few bad apples that cause us a bad name, there are also a few rotten apples in those associations. So the agents that have been delaying the clearance of goods, of importers, and giving the excuse of URA systems being off, those that have been denying importers the chance to pay their goods under their TIN, those that have been asking for other unreceipted monies, saying for you to move your container to be verified, you must pay. For you to do this, you must pay. It is my opportunity tonight to appeal to all our taxpayers, please say no to this kind of extortion. Any money you pay should be direct to the government of Uganda. You should pay it directly to the bank, and it should have a receipt. If there is a charge for a service offering, it should be known as a charge for the service offering of the agent, and they should give you their receipt. In fact, insist on an e-receipt so that you can use that receipt when you're filing your returns, and it is allowed as your expense. My appeal to you, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is that let's join hands in fighting the vice of corruption, because at URA we have reset and we will not look back. We are going to fight corruption until our institution is corruption-free. Now, let me turn back to the theme of today, because sometimes when I speak about corruption, I kind of get derailed. But I want to thank our dear awardees for being true patriots, to set an example for the whole nation that it's a good thing for taxpayers to voluntarily declare and pay their fair share of tax. Because as a country, to collect 14, it means our level of tax compliance is very low. So functions like tonight, the Taxpayer Appreciation Day and Dinner, which is the climax of a season, is to sensitize the public, is to appreciate the compliant taxpayers and set the example for everybody who wishes to see a better future for our nation to belong to the class of the compliant taxpayers. But as my brother Salvador has already mentioned, we are very deliberate on the tax education campaigns. We're on television, we're on radio stations, we're organizing a number of workshops to make sure that our people get to appreciate the importance of tax compliance and every citizen contributing their fair share of tax. But we shall not stop at sensitization. We are also deliberate in rolling out technologies. We belong to the information age where data is probably more valuable than the mineral resources like gold and oil. So we are leveraging the advancement in technology and deploying new technologies in our tax collection processes, one, to make them more efficient so that taxpayers can be served fast and efficiently, but also fairly so that there are no assumptions. There is science that tells you this is what you have sold and this is the tax, and this is the income you've made, and this is the tax that you should pay. So a number of initiatives which I'm sure you have started experiencing and you can confirm they are useful, including the instant issuance of TIN, tax identification number, which used to bring people to our offices, sometimes take a week to get them, sometimes take an incentive to give someone helping you, can now be done instantly from your phones. You don't have to interface with any tax collector. Auctioning of overstayed cargo, which sometimes would go unfairly, or even when it's not time to auction, has been automated. The handling of cargo has been automated, and many others. Of course, not to mention IFRIS, which caused the storm in the city. But even IFRIS is a very good technology which will help taxpayers be assessed fairly, to file their returns instantly, and I think with now the improved tax education, our friends from Kafu and Futa, when we bring IFRIS, you will support us, you will not fight us. But I thank the majority of Ugandans who embraced IFRIS and are using it today. And certainly, they are the majority of those we have here tonight to award. But Honorable Minister, and one of the factors that will lead us there is monitoring our tax to GDP ratio, which many, many times our leader and our president has referred us to. As we speak tonight, Uganda's tax to GDP is at 14%. You can clap for that. It is progress. Because a few years ago, we were at 12%. But when you compare this with the other African countries, the average for sub-Saharan Africa is 16%. The countries within Africa which have improved or are doing well at their revenue collection, like South Africa, they are collecting 26% of their GDP. But again more, If we compare ourselves with the developed countries of the world, the average for the OECD countries is about 30%, but the top one among those ones collect up to 40%. So for us to be at 14, when other countries of the world collect 40, is not a comfortable place to be. Therefore, at Uganda Revenue Authority and under the leadership of our Minister of Finance and His Excellency the President, we have set ourselves and we are determined to move our tax to GDP much faster. We've been moving by about 0.5%, which is clearly not matching our needs as a country. So in the next 3 years, we need to move this from the current 14 to at least 20. Why 20%? Because research has indicated that for any country to develop, you need to be collecting at least 20% of your GDP. And how shall we achieve this?